Sound the alarms. We've got an emergency podcast. The Cincinnati Bengals have traded the 10th overall pick for defensive tackle, all-pro defensive tackle, Dexter Lawrence. So I'm going to test out how this emergency podcast kind of thing works on this podcast. Is it going to hit? Is it not? I don't care. It's fun. So what we're going to do here, we're going to go over a new mock draft, 7-round mock draft for the Giants, and we're going to go over a 7-round mock draft for the Bengals. What can the Giants do with 2 top 10 picks? What can the Bengals still get without a first-round pick? That's what we're going to discuss here. But before we dive in, I do want to talk about what's going to happen draft week over at Daft on Draft, the Substack website down here in the right corner if you're looking on YouTube. So, big stuff happening. Monday, I am dropping my draft guide, 205 scouting reports. I'm working tirelessly to get this thing finished and edited up. All the reports are written, just editing this thing. Tuesday, dropping my weighted on target percentage and final quarterback rankings in terms of ball placement, accuracy, overall scouting reports, everything like that, quarterback rankings coming out on Tuesday. Wednesday, dropping my final mock draft where I'm going to try to be as predictive as possible with this mock draft as well. So look out for that on Wednesday. Thursday, live grades. Live grades on Thursday. So as the picks roll in, I'll be writing about 100 words and grading each pick. So if you're a paid subscriber, you can refresh that page and keep that scrolling with you. And then after day 1 and day 2 of the draft, James and I will be going live on YouTube. It'll be about midnight. That's when those nights end, day 1 and day 2, but Eastern time. But we will be going over all of the action. So tune in with us. Fun draft week coming up. But let's get into this emergency podcast and these mock drafts for the Giants and Bengals after the Blockbuster Lawrence trade.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you are subscribed to the Substack daftOnDraft.football, where you will get access to all of these charts on Google Drive for every quarterback in the class, access to insider information on the Discord channel, film rooms every single week, live chartings every single week, big boards, positional rankings, more and more. So make sure you are tuned in.
Let's feel the after effects. Let's do a Giants 7-round mock draft. Let's do a Bengals 7-round mock draft. Play this out. See what we can do with some extra assets here from both sides here. So first, we're going to start with the Giants. I have already force traded the 10th overall pick because it's not updating the system yet. All good, all good. A to Z's produced a killer simulator. Can't expect him to update it instantly, right? So we are going to do a little mock draft here. So let's roll. Let me zoom in on the screen a little bit here. There we go. We can see that much better. Let's start. 5th overall pick. So if Sonny Styles is on the board, my top player in the draft class, as it plays out here, Fernando Mendoza goes number 1 overall. Arvell Reese, David Bailey, CeCe Moinoa. If this is how it plays out, I think we're going to go Sonny Styles here to the Giants. Again, my number 1 player in this draft class. They don't make him 6'5", 245, and then alien like him. And if you watch his tape, the tackling is excellent. He didn't miss a tackle to the last game of the season. You see him take on contact, and he's not absorbing and rolling back. He's initiating and sticking at the line of scrimmage. If you want the best player in the draft right here, Giants, you got him. So that takes us to 10. They could double up here and go Caleb Downs with the Ohio State defensive duo right there. They could go Jeremiah Love. They could get a wide receiver. And I think wide receiver is the option that I'm going to go with here. I'm going to decline those trade offers. There's a lot of smoke between Jordan Tyson and the Giants right now. Jordan Tyson's off the board at 8 in this mock draft simulator. With that being said, and Jordan Tyson off the board, I'm kind of leaning towards Mekhi Lemon here. If we're going to go best place available, Carnell Tate's off the board as well. So we're on to the third wide receiver here. Or do we take the best offensive player available? You know, I could see Mara, after the Hard Knocks debacle of losing Saquon, saying, go get me another bell cow. Go get me another guy that you can hand the ball to 25 times a game, 20 times a game, and we can ride him so that we can take the pressure off of the quarterback. That's the direction I'm going to go here. And it's a BPA approach right here for me, too, based on my board. Best offensive player, get a running back. Who knows how much longer Cam Scattergoo is going to be playing as he's CTE running his career. But that brings us back on the clock here. And here we do have a wide receiver in Chris Bell, who was a projected first-round pick before the ACL tear in November. Sitting at 37, and you could pluck Chris Bell here. That's a pretty interesting option. If you want a player who can play right away, you could go Jeremy Bernard. We passed on Caleb Downs up top. That safety board isn't great. Trading Stukes is gathering some steam. So, like, I wouldn't hate trading Stukes. Still feels a little early. You re-signed Jermaine Illuminor, and you have Andrew Thomas. I don't think offensive tackle is that big of a need. Corner. All right, corner, this is the direction we're going to take this. The Deontay Banks thing has not worked out. Chris Johnson is getting a lot of first-round buzz. He's sitting here in the second round, 36th overall, or 37th overall, the 36th best player on A to Z's board. I think he goes first round. But if we're going to work the simulator out a little bit right here, corner's a need. You got a corner on the board here. If we wanted to be a little more realistic, Brandon Cisse, who I've heard the Chiefs like at 29, so he might not even be there either. But let's play the simulator a little bit right here, and let's take Chris Johnson, address a need, and talk about need and individual players more so than like what's realistic on draft night, I guess. All right. Moving into round 4 here. Pick 105. So we've hit running back, we've hit linebacker, we've hit corner. Wide receiver still a need. We could go pure speed guy and Brennan Thompson. I think that would shake a lot of boots of guys, of Jalen Hyatt fans, who's also just a linear guy who can't really run crisp routes, run nice routes. Thompson's a better ball tracker, way better ball tracker than Jalen Hyatt, but kind of the same like unrefined route running stuff that Hyatt has. Deshaun Stribling is a massive riser. Dane Brugler saying he might go second round. Sitting here at 105 on the board, this is the direction that I take in case that buzz does die off a little bit. He was a late riser. He is 23, but at 6'2", 210, and you run a 4.37, you can play X, you can play slot. I see a lot of insert blocking as well, so there's a lot that he can do. Let's go Deshaun Stribling here to the Giants at 105. All right, heading into the 5th round now. So we've got linebacker, running back, corner, wide receiver. We've hit some big needs. I think we can start looking towards BPA a little bit here. With Illuminor being re-signed, but still a bit older, you could go swing tackle route here and maybe plan for the future a little bit here with Markel Bell. That's the direction I'm leaning as I'm looking through the board. Tyler Onyedem is a really fun defensive tackle as well. Really fluid, really slippery pass rusher. Not much there against the run, but as a pass rusher, he's electric. So that's an option. What's our guard situation? Oh, guard is ugly. Maybe I should have looked at guard early. But if I'm looking at like my board compared to this board, I love Bo Stevens. He didn't test well, but he is one of the best run blockers in this entire draft class. The most torque power, consistent torque power you'll see from guys. So I know he sits 189, and I probably could work the simulator a little bit. It's saying there's a 62% chance he'll be here in 2 picks. When's the Giants' next pick? 186. So we're talking 40 picks from now. There's less than a 50% chance he's on the board. Let's go swing tackle first. Let's take the risk here. Let's take the risk here that maybe Bo Stevens is on the board. If not, there was another guard that I have some interest in here. Bo Stevens still there? Bo Stevens still there. Again, I expect Bo Stevens to go earlier than the 6th round. The tape is just too good. I know the testing. I know what it said. The tape is legitimate day 2 tape. Probably slips into day 3 after the testing, but the tape is day 2 tape. He is tough. He is gritty, and he is one of the best run blockers in this class. We're going to hit Bo Stevens right here. All right. We got back-to-back picks here in the 6th round. Jeez. Let's just start scrolling through some BPA stuff here. Matt Golban is an underrated center in this class. Ooh, we could double up wide receiver here. Cyrus Allen, again, I'm much higher than 203 on. He did not get a combine invite. He is better than Jeff Caldwell, who did test out of his mind of the 2 Cincinnati receivers. Cyrus Allen is my bet to be the highest drafted player who did not get a combine invite. Given that Deshaun Stribling is 6'2", 210, can play the vertical plane, can kind of insert block as well in the slot a little bit, but we're talking about a true slot here. You lose Wan'Dale Robinson, and I'm not saying he's Wan'Dale-ish. Wan'Dale is much better on like designed manufactured touches and stuff, but Cyrus Allen's refinement at the top of his routes and on his stems, and his ability to run routes and understand how to manipulate the hips of defensive backs is very refined for a player that you see sitting at 203 on the board right here. So I'm going to go Cyrus Allen. All right. So let me check the Giants' depth chart real fast. I have an inkling of what I want to do here, but I want to make sure that I'm thinking straight. No, that's not the direction I want to go here. Let's see. Did I draft a safety? I didn't. Okay. So we're going to look at Jacoby Thomas here out of Miami. Jacoby Thomas is the definition of a heat-seeking missile. He's very comparable to Ralph Wiggum of The Simpsons, where everything is both feet off the ground, head down, looking to launch himself into receivers over the middle of the field, ball carriers. He's very much a headhunter, very much a hard hitter. It leads to a lot of missed tackles. It puts him in a lot of compromising situations in terms of being like thrown out for targeting as well. We didn't go safety early, though. So if you want a guy who thrives in a robber role, stepping down from too high looks and plays that strong safety role a little bit here, this is the direction we want to take. So that's what I'm bound to do here, and I'll draft Jacoby Thomas. All right. Giants, do we got a 7th-round pick? I don't believe we do. Okay, so that's going to do it for this 7th-round mock for the Giants. Again, with this second first-round pick, we were able to get both Sonny Styles and Jeremiah Love in this mock draft. Now, there's some buzz out there that Jeremiah Love might go 4 to the Titans. Did not happen in this mock draft. So you get Sonny Styles at 5. You get Jeremiah Love at 10. 2nd round, you get Chris Johnson. 4th round, you get Deshaun Stribling, wide receiver at Ole Miss. 5th round, you get a developmental swing tackle in the 6'9", 335-pound Markel Bell. Big dude, 36-inch arms. Needs to move a little bit better, but has a lot of room for error with those long arms and that natural anchor. 6th round, Bo Stevens. Again, the tape is so good. We'll see how people view how capped out of an athlete he is, how capped out of a player he is. Cyrus Allen also in the 6th round. Again, I think the tape is early day 3 tape compared to mid to late day 3 tape here. And then in 6th round, Jacoby Thomas too, a natural hard hitter, headhunter, takes a lot of risks trying to make plays on the football. But a good downhill strong safety here to round this mock draft out. So let's move on now. And let's do one for the Bengals. So we want 7 rounds. What can it look like? What kind of talent can they get with no first-round pick now is kind of the question we need to figure out. So before we start this draft, let's go to the 10th overall pick and offer a trade to the Giants. Trade that pick to the Giants. We'll just force it to next year 5th. That works. All right. So let's start this bad boy. Again, no first-round pick for the Bengals now. So we got to sit here and wait a little bit for them to come back through. But they do add Dexter Lawrence. Again, a player only in his, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Entering his 8th season. One of the best defensive tackles in all of football. The best pass rusher from shade, 1-tech, 0-tech that you'll find in the NFL. They got to find a way to pay him. That franchise in particular, with Burrow, Chase, Higgins already off the board. So are already on the market in terms of being paid. So we got to figure out what we want to do here. At 41, defensive tackle is no longer a need. Wide receiver could be a need because I look at that and I see Key Higgins' contract and I see the money they're now going to have to guarantee to Dexter Lawrence. And could they move Higgins, or could they move on from Higgins after this year? And if that case, they might need another year. So we could look at wide receiver for the future a little bit here. And in that case, I would look at Chris Bell, who has legitimate Z slot X versatility, 6'1", 222 pounds, ungodly explosive. You could watch him take slants 60 yards to the house, shallow crosses 60 yards to the house at will. Excellent football player. We could go and see who's sitting at linebacker because we don't get a shot at Sonny Styles now. We, a trade back with for Jacob Rodriguez later in the first could happen because it sounds like Rodriguez is going to go early. He's on the simulator here. So if I'm gaming the simulator a little bit, this is the direction I'll go. These 2 linebackers. I have Josiah Trotter ranked higher on my board than Jacob Rodriguez. The league loves Jacob Rodriguez a lot more than Josiah Trotter. I'm okay to eat that on my consensus board, on my big board, and say, like, this is a player I'm going to stand on. But if we're going to be a little more predictive here, Jacob Rodriguez, 41 to the Bengals here. All right. So 72 now. Let's look at the offensive lineman and see what we can do. All right. Linebacker we just drafted, so we can pull that off here. Center, Keelan Rutledge still on the board. Again, Keelan Rutledge sounds like he's going to go top 50, 56, 55, somewhere in that range. Not sure that's realistic to talk about here. Slaughter, I do think, is realistic to talk about. Let's take a gander at the Bengals depth chart real fast here, again, to make sure I'm not overlooking something I should know about. Ted Karras is getting up there. We could look to draft a future player here. Dalton Reisner, also a one-year deal. So like a player like Jalen Farmer, to be a little more realistic here, not a bad option here at 72. Ungodly explosive, ungodly long, very tight, very stiff. But he is powerful in a phone booth. So that's an option. With Dalton Reisner just on another one-year deal. At tight end, we're sitting with Cam Sample and Mike Gesicki. The Cincinnati Bengals love to draft Ohio State players as well. Let's do another one right here. Let's go Max Clare to Cincinnati at 72. We address the tight end position here. All right, back in the fourth round now. 110 overall. Jalen Farmer's still on the board here. If we want to get a guard to think about future past 1 year in Dalton Reisner. We could also take a look at edge rusher. I know they drafted Shamar Stewart just a year ago. They did sign Boye Mafe. I would be shocked if they picked up Miles Murphy's fifth-year option at this point. So we could look at edge rusher and see what we got here. Oh, yikes. Okay. Nope, not doing that. I'm going to go Jalen Farmer. Let's plan for life beyond Dalton Reisner, because that's a patchwork job to re-sign him for 1 year to throw him up on the next that offensive line, but definitely a position we can still upgrade in Cincinnati. Again, Jalen Farmer, over 34-inch arms, strong as an ox, unbelievable anchor in pass pro. The change of direction is just very limited. He is very stiff. All right, into the sixth round here. 189. So we did just draft a pass rusher, or we did just trade for Dexter Lawrence, I'm sorry. Again, I talked about Tyler Onyedim when I was going over the Giants mock. Pretty solid option here as well. Dexter Lawrence is a shade. He's a one tech. BJ Hill is old. You do have Jonathan Allen, also old. A three tech pass rushy defensive tackle, not out of the question still. So I'm leaning Tyler Onyedim. What do we got going on at corner? Onyedim still the best player on the board when we turn corner on. That's the direction we're going here. Slippery pass rusher, elusive, explosive pass rusher, good football player. All right, sitting back, best player on the board. Behind Chase Brown is still Samanji Perine, so like a third down back wouldn't be a bad idea. Indiana's Keelan Black. He's a really good pass blocker. Didn't get a lot of reps in terms of receiving reps coming out of the backfield. Doesn't mean he can't do it. Eli Heidenreich, the Navy running back. Really good receiver because he played it a ton. Pass pro, need to be a little work in progress. But in terms of a third down back who can come on the field and catch passes out of the backfield for you, let's have a little fun here and go the Navy running back Eli Heidenreich at 199. So that'll take us into the seventh round here. 221. Let's go best player available. We haven't drafted a receiver yet. Again, we know the Bengals and how guaranteed money works, and you have to put that money into escrow. They're going to have to pay Dexter Lawrence after already paying Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. T. Higgins is dead contract or dead money. Let's see here. Not that he's going to get cut. Let's look at the T. Higgins contract and see, like, is this his last year in Cincinnati? And I think if we're paying Dexter Lawrence, it's a real conversation. So trade post June 1 or even pre June 1. So if they trade him this year, they would eat $11 million, but save $15 million to trade him this year. I don't know if that's going to happen. If they trade him after June 1st, they can save $22.7 million against the cap. Next year, pre-June 1, so after the season before June 1st in 2027, you can save 22.5 and eat 7.5. Post June 1 in 2027, save 26, eat 3.75. I think there's a real conversation to be had that we know that the Bengals are cash poor, and when you guarantee money, you have to put that into escrow up front. You have to have the money to do that. Is there a chance they're moving on? They could move off T. Higgins after the season. I think that's a real case. So let's go get another big-bodied receiver here at 221. And again, it's 221. So even if they don't, you're adding a big-bodied receiver to the wide receiver room, and you could figure something else later. 221. Reggie Virgil is a big-bodied wide receiver. He's not going to separate well. He doesn't run particularly fast, but his body control is exceptional. His hands at the catch point are exceptional. In condensed situations on the field like the red zone, he beats up on corners. If you want a big-bodied guy who's a back shoulder savant as well, knows how to locate the football in the air, track it well, Reggie Virgil's your guy. So 221 here. Let's draft Reggie Virgil to the Bengals. Back up on 226. All right, we've done a lot of positions here. Do we want to have some fun and draft a special teamer? Draft a return specialist? Right now, the Cincinnati Bengals is Charlie Jones. So Charlie Jones is running out of time on his contract. Caden Wheatgen would be a lot of fun as a return specialist and like a slot gadget guy in this wide receiver room. If we're just having fun in the 7-round mock draft and we're sitting in round 7, let's do it. Let's add a nice little return specialist. He's returned like 6 punts for touchdowns in his career going back to JUCO at Snow College. So fun player there with Caden Wheatgen. So this emergency podcast, Bengals mock. You get Dexter Lawrence with the 10th overall pick. You get Jacob Rodriguez here at 41. Max Clare at 72, tight end of Ohio State. Jalen Farmer, guard out of Kentucky at 110. Into the 6th round, you get Tyler Onyedim, gap shooty, slippery pass rushing defensive tackle out of Texas A&M. 199, Navy running back Eli Heidenreich. 221, big-bodied receiver Reggie Virgil. 226, return specialist, gadgety kind of wide receiver Caden Wheatgen. So, fun little emergency podcast episode here just to go over what happened after and what we can do with the fallout from the Dexter Lawrence trades in terms of from the Giants' perspective and the Bengals' perspective. Hope you like this. That's a big shakeup right before the draft. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Welcome to Draft Week. Again, over at Daft on Draft, I've got a lot of stuff, but I previewed it in the intro, so I'm not going to preview it again here. Thank you so much for tuning in.